Midnight. August 12, 1859. The oak tree groans as one burning branch splits, crashing onto the roof of the great house. Sparks scatter into the night like fleeing souls. Inside, a woman screams. A sound choked by smoke. Glass shatters, horses shriek in their stalls, chains clatter against stone. The flames breathe louder than voices, swallowing the music of a child's lullaby drifting through the fire. And then silence. The narrator's voice, low and sharp. They said the blaze was an accident, a storm, a lantern tipped. But those who were there knew better. This fire had a purpose. Morning light bleeds over Oak Hill Plantation. The fields stretch endless, a sea of cotton trembling under the August heat. Cicadas scream in the distance. A whip cracks, sharp, metallic, final. The smell of sweat and soil clings to the air like a curse. From the porch of the great house, voices murmur. Elias Ward leans against a railing, his boots dusty, a nervous rhythm tapping against the wood. Only 19, he hides behind the authority of a borrowed whip. His words drip with unease. Elias. They don't look right this morning. Isaac Turner, a thin boy of 14, moves beside the stables, clutching a bundle of hay. His eyes never leave the sky, tracing the flight of a hawk. Elias narrows his gaze. Elias. You hear me, boy? Answer when spoken to. Isaac lowers his head, voice soft. Isaac. Yes, sir. Just watching the bird. He's circling. Elias spits into the dirt. Elias. Circling ain't working. You got chores. Oak Hill was a kingdom built on silence. Words were swallowed, songs strangled in the throat. But silence is dangerous. It hides what grows beneath. A rider approaches down the dirt road, dust rising around horse hooves. The patrolman calls out, waving a pistol in greeting. Elias straightens, trying to look older, braver. Patrolman. Mornin', Ward. Mr. Harrow says keep a sharp eye. Rumors. Running through the county. Talks of insurrection. Talks of blood. Elias forces a laugh, but his hand trembles on the railing. Elias. Ain't nothing here but dirt and sweat. These folks wouldn't dare. Isaac listens, silent. His hands tighten on the hay bundle. His gaze lingers on the hawk again, circling, patient, waiting. The year was 1859. Across Virginia, whispers spread like fire in dry grass. John Brown had not yet struck at Harper's Ferry, but the fear of rebellion had already poisoned the air. Slave patrols rode harder, overseers whipped faster. The world of Oak Hill was a tinderbox waiting for flame. Inside the big house, laughter echoes faintly, aristocratic, careless, the sound of crystal glasses clinking. To those inside, Oak Hill is wealth, order, legacy. To those outside, it is iron and hunger. Elias turns back toward Isaac, trying to steady his voice. Elias. You. Stable's filthy. Clean it till it shines. Don't let me catch you daydreaming again. Isaac. Yes, sir. As Isaac carries hay toward the stall, he mutters under his breath. Words only he can hear. Isaac. Even the hawk's gotta wait his time. Oak Hill looks strong from the outside, but even the strongest oak rots from within. Night falls over Oak Hill. The cabins glow faintly, firelight slipping through cracks in the wood. Inside one cabin, the Carter family sits close, the silence heavy but familiar. Samuel Carter, 28, strong but worn, runs a hand across the scar on his cheek, a crooked line carved years ago. He fingers a broken, rusted chain link that hangs from a leather cord around his neck. His voice is low, gravel thick. Samuel. They think chains make us forget, but I keep mine close. I remember. Eliza Carter, his wife, brushes their daughter's hair with a wooden comb. She holds it carefully, as though it were glass, the one gift her mother smuggled from another life. Her voice is calm, but edged, with steel. Eliza. You remember, Samuel, but Mary needs to sleep without nightmares. Sing so she dreams of something else. Mary Carter, only 6, hums softly, a melody passed from mother to child. The lullaby drifts, fragile yet defiant. Her voice is bright, unbroken by the world. Mary, Mama, why we always whisper songs? Why not sing loud like the folks in the big house? Eliza glances at Samuel, her comb pausing mid-stroke. Eliza, because our songs are ours, baby. Loud or soft, don't matter, long as we keep singing. Samuel, a day will come, little one, when you'll sing as loud as thunder. They had lived on Oak Hill their whole lives. Samuel born into chains, Eliza sold from another farm, Mary born beneath the shadow of both. Yet in the smallest things, a comb, a chain, a lullaby, they carried pieces of freedom the fire could never burn. Outside, a door slams. Heavy footsteps crunch the dirt. Samuel stiffens, hand curling into a fist. But it is only Elias Ward passing with a lantern, checking cabins. His shadow lingers too long on the Carter door before moving on. Eliza whispers, sharply, Eliza. That boy's eyes, he watches too much, like a dog waiting to bite. Samuel, dogs can be put down. Eliza, careful, words got ears. Mary yawns, curling against her mother. The comb rests on the shelf, catching the faint glow of firelight. Samuel touches the chain link again, whispering to himself. Samuel. One day. The wind pushes through the trees, rattling leaves like bones. A hawk cries overhead, the same bird Isaac had seen. The Carter family held onto scraps of memory. Rusted, metal carved wood, a song carried in the breath of a child. They did not yet know these symbols would return when the night turned to fire. The moon hangs over Oak Hill like a pale coin. In the great house, laughter rolls across the parlor, thick with whiskey and smoke. The overseer, Thomas Calhoun, leans heavy against a table, a glass in hand. His face is pockmarked, his eyes bloodshot, his belt hung with a whip polished smooth, from use. Thomas slams the glass down, liquid spilling. Thomas, they don't fear enough. You keep a dog tame, you beat it regular. Across from him, Rebecca Calhoun, his wife, sits silent. Her hands rest on her lap, fingers trembling, ink stains on her skin from the journal she keeps hidden in drawers. She does not speak, only watches her husband's shadow lengthen against the candlelit wall. Rebecca whispers at last, her voice soft as moth wings. Rebecca, a man who must remind them every day. Perhaps it is he who fears. Thomas sneers, leaning close. Thomas, write that in your little books, woman. But don't forget who keeps this house standing. He staggers away, leaving the whip coiled like a sleeping snake on the table. Rebecca stares at it, her reflection trembling in the spilled whiskey. Down in the kitchen, the air is heavy with smoke and steam. Nora Bell, a kitchen servant of 19, stirs a pot, her sleeves rolled high, arms marked with burns from careless orders. She hums faintly, a tune cut short when Elias Ward steps inside, lantern in hand. Elias clears his throat, awkward, too long lingering in the doorway. Elias, food smells good. Nora glances over her shoulder, unimpressed. Nora, smells like work. Nothing more. Elias fidgets, tapping the lantern's glass with a fingernail. Elias, you ever think of leaving this place? Nora freezes, spoon hovering above the pot. Her voice is sharper now. Nora, a question like that could get me killed. Elias, not if no one heard it. Nora turns, eyes narrowed. Nora, but someone always hears, Mr. Ward. Even the walls whisper here. She returns to stirring, ending the conversation. Elias lingers, wanting to say more, but fear knots his throat. Whispers of love and betrayal curled in corners of Oak Hill. Forbidden glances, half-formed confessions, secrets smuggled in silence. Each word carried the weight of danger. In the cabins, Samuel sits sharpening a hoe blade, Eliza weaving cloth beside him. Nora enters quietly, carrying a folded scrap of paper hidden in her apron. Nora, From the river road, they pass him, down hand to hand, saying there's men in the north who plan something, saying it's coming soon. Samuel takes the paper, squinting at the faint scrawls. He cannot read, but Eliza can. Her eyes scan quickly, lips tightening. Eliza, talk of John Brown, talk of arms, talk of rising. Samuel's scarred cheek twitches, a smile almost forming. Samuel, rising. Nora lowers her voice. Nora, careful with that word, even thinking it's dangerous. Eliza, dangerous is breathing. Dangerous is waking up each day in chains. One day, danger's gotta turn into something else. Mary stirs from sleep, singing half a line of her lullaby before drifting again. The sound fills the cabin, fragile yet unbroken. Later, Rebecca Calhoun sits alone in her room, quill scratching across paper. Her journal fills with lines hidden from her husband's eyes. I see cruelty rot a man from the inside. One day the walls will not hold against the silence. She pauses as the faint sound of Mary's lullaby drifts through the night air, reaching even the great house. Rebecca closes her eyes, and for a moment, she hums along. In the shadows of Oak Hill, bonds were being forged, through love, through words, through memory. But bonds of secrecy are fragile things. A single betrayal could break them all. The August sun burns merciless over the fields. Dust hangs heavy in the air, sticking to sweat and blood. Isaac Turner, the thin stable boy, struggles to carry a lantern across the yard. His arms tremble, legs buckling under the weight. The glass slips, shatters across the dirt. Oil seeps like dark veins into the ground. The world freezes. From the porch, Thomas Calhoun rises. His face reddens, whiskey still lingering on his breath. He seizes his whip with delight, as though the accident were a gift. Thomas, boy, you think you can waste what ain't yours? Isaac stammers, voice cracking. Isaac, I didn't mean... The whip cracks before the sentence is finished. Leather splits the air, then skin. Isaac cries out, curling into himself. Samuel Carter drops his hoe, fist clenching. Eliza grabs his wrist. Eliza, don't. Samuel's voice is iron. Samuel, he's a child. Another strike falls. Isaac coughs blood into the dirt. The overseer raises his arm again when a new voice cuts across the yard. Judge William Harrow steps from the great house, coat pristine despite the heat. His face is lined, his mouth carved into a permanent sneer. He carries a walking cane tipped with silver, polished like a weapon. Judge Harrow. Enough. Thomas lowers the whip, chest heaving. Isaac lies still, gasping. The judge approaches, tapping his cane against the earth with each step. He looks down at Isaac as if regarding a broken tool. His voice is cold, measured. Judge Harrow. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Better to break it early than let it snap later. Samuel can't hold back. His voice cuts like a blade. Samuel, chains can snap both ways. The yard stills. Overseers, servants, even the cicadas fall silent. Judge Harrow turns slowly, eyes locking onto Samuel. Judge Harrow. Step forward. Samuel doesn't move. His scar burns red in the sun. Judge Harrow leans close, his words sharp as glass. Judge Harrow, your chains will outlive your name. He turns his back, dismissing Samuel as though he were already dead. To Thomas he mutters, Judge Harrow, double the patrols, tighten the reins. I'll not have Oak Hill fall to whispers. Walks away, cane striking dirt like a clock counting down. Elias Ward shifts uneasily near the stables, watching Samuel. His face is pale, sweat trickling down his temple. Later, as shadows stretch long, Elias slips to Thomas's side. Elias whispers, voice trembling, Elias, he talks at night. Samuel, the others. I hear him. Thomas smirks, patting the boy's shoulder with a heavy hand. Thomas, good. Keep your ears open. Loyalty gets rewarded. Narration slides in, chilling. The lash tore Isaac's flesh, but it was not his scream that haunted Oak Hill. It was Samuel's words. Chains can snap both ways. A whisper spoken in daylight carried more danger than a dozen hidden knives, and betrayal had already begun to move through the house. The scene ends with Isaac lying in the dirt, his breath rattling shallow. Samuel kneels beside him, pressing cloth to the wound, whispering under his breath, "Samuel, one day he'll pay in fire." The hawk circles overhead, crying into the silence. Night cloaks Oak Hill. Crickets chirp in the brush, and the cabins glow faintly under lantern light. Inside one, Samuel leans close to a small group. The broken chain link gleams at his throat. His voice is low, fierce. "Samuel, words don't mean nothing without hands. Tonight we swear. No turning back." He digs into the earth beneath the floorboards, placing a tin box into the hole. Inside, a folded scrap of cloth marked with ash, a token of their pact. Each hand touches the box in silence before the earth swallows it again. The group grows. Abel, Knox, the blacksmith, his arms thick as iron, the smell of smoke clinging to him. He flexes his fists, whispering, "Abel, tools ain't just tools. I've made nails sharp enough to tear a throat." Beside him, his wife Sarah Knox, eyes keen, hands stained green from herbs and roots. She lays out small bundles of dried leaves. "Sarah, these leaves don't heal, they kill. In wine, they taste like nothing." And Jonas Pike, a field hand built like stone, fists scarred, jaw set. He spits in the dirt, voice harsh. "Jonas, chains took my brother. I'll take their blood." Eliza grips Samuel's hand tightly. "Eliza, don't forget, we fight for the living, not just the dead." Jonas growls. "Jonas, the dead demand it too." Nora Bell slips in, carrying a folded note hidden in laundry. She places it in Samuel's palm. "Nora, word from the river. Riders talk of uprisings. They say the time is now." A sudden knock at the door. Hearts stop. Eliza smothers the lantern flame. Shadows consume the room. It's only Elias Ward's voice muffled outside. "Elias, lights out. Overseer wants quiet." They hold their breath until his footsteps fade. Later that week, Abel works in the smithy. Sparks fly, iron rings. He shapes nails, longer, sharper than usual. His hammering masks whispers of rebellion, but suddenly Thomas Calhoun steps inside, eyes narrowing. "Thomas, that pile of nails looks too fine for fence work." Abel's heart slams. He wipes sweat, forcing calm. "Abel, fence for the judge's horses, strong nails for strong posts." Thomas eyes him long, then shrugs, reaching for a flask. He leaves. Abel exhales, the hammer shaking in his grip. Meanwhile, Sarah sneaks herbs into the pantry, slipping packets behind jars. She nearly collides with Rebecca Calhoun, who studies her with piercing eyes. Rebecca, voice low, "What's that in your hand?" Sarah freezes, the packet nearly visible. Rebecca's lips twitch into a faint smile. "Rebecca, if it's for healing, hide it better." He doesn't like secrets. She walks away without another word. Sarah clutches the herbs, pulse racing. Every plan was a knife's edge. One false step and the dream of fire would die in silence. But silence had already been broken. The night of August 12th, 1859. Heat lingers even after sundown, thick as tar. Crickets sing, owls call from the trees, and Oak Hill lies quiet, too quiet. In the cabins, the conspirators gather one last time. Samuel tightens the rusted chain link around his neck. Abel slides iron nails into a pouch. Sarah crushes herbs into fine powder, mixing them into wine. Jonas sharpens a blade against stone, the scrape echoing like a warning. Eliza hums softly to calm Mary, who clings to her side, half asleep. Samuel whispers, "Samuel, tonight, chains break." The plan unfolds like a shadow. In the great house, candles glow across the dining table. Judge Harrow sits at the head, silver-tipped cane leaning against his chair. Thomas Calhoun laughs too loud, whiskey staining his shirt. Rebecca, sits silent, eyes on her journal tucked beneath the tablecloth. Servants move quietly between them, filling glasses, serving roasted meat. Sarah places a decanter on the table, her face calm. The wine shimmers dark, hiding its secret. Thomas raises his glass. Thomas, to Oak Hill, may it stand forever. They drink. Only Rebecca hesitates, her lips pressing to the rim without swallowing. Her eyes flicker toward Sarah, who gives the faintest nod. Minutes later, Thomas coughs. His hand trembles. Sweat beads on his forehead. He curses, slamming the glass down. Others at the table shift uneasily, one clutching his stomach. Rebecca whispers to herself, Rebecca. The walls will not hold. Outside, Jonas splashes oil along the porch beams, his movements swift, deliberate. The smell of kerosene cuts through the night air. Abel closes the main gate with a heavy chain, locking it tight. The iron clang echoes like a bell tolling doom. Nora. Bell slips between cabins, whispering warnings. Nora. Stay inside, stay quiet, don't run till you see fire. In the stables, Isaac stirs, his bruises not yet healed. He hears the hawk cry again and mutters, Isaac. Circle's over. It's fallen now. The match is struck. Jonas watches the flame tremble on the stick before pressing it to the oil-soaked wood. Fire races across the porch beams, climbing, fast orange tongues licking upward. Inside, laughter turns to confusion, then to screams. Woman's voice. Smoke! Smoke in the hall! Panic surges, chairs overturn, feet pound against wood. Samuel bursts through the door, his eyes locked on Judge Harrow. Samuel. Chains die with me. The judge rises, cane in hand, defiant even as smoke curls around him. Judge Harrow. You'll hang before the sun, Carter. You'll hang. Samuel steps closer, firelight glinting off his scar. Samuel. Then I'll hang free. The house shudders as a beam collapses, sparks exploding like gunfire. In the chaos, Rebecca clutches her journals to her chest. She rushes toward a side door but freezes when she sees Thomas stumbling, foaming at the mouth. His eyes roll white, his hand reaching for her. Thomas, help. Me. Rebecca pulls back, voice steady, cold. Rebecca, you were never worth saving. She vanishes into the smoke, leaving him to fall. Elias Ward, torn between fear and guilt, tries to find Nora. He stumbles through the kitchen, coughing, shouting her name. Elias. Nora! Where are you? He finds her by the back stairs, eyes burning with smoke. She shakes her head. Nora. Too late. Go. Elias grabs her arm. Elias. I can't let you die. Nora. Then run with me. Before he can answer, flames erupt, blocking the way. Elias pulls her, but she slips free, shoving him toward the open night. She vanishes in the inferno. Elias staggers, outside, face streaked with ash, screaming her name. Meanwhile, Abel drags a fallen beam from the doorway, his arms straining. He shouts to Samuel. Abel, we got him trapped, go. But Samuel is locked in a final stare with Judge Harrow. The judge lifts his cane, striking Samuel across the scarred cheek. Samuel barely flinches. Samuel seizes the cane, voice thundering. Samuel, this ends with you. He drives the cane into the judge's chest, shoving him backward into the flames. The judge's scream is swallowed by fire. Outside, Eliza clutches Mary, rushing toward the cabins as sparks rain down. The flames leap higher than planned, spreading fast across roofs. Smoke fills the night, choking the air. Mary coughs, frightened. Mary. Mama. Sing. Eliza hums the lullaby, voice breaking, carrying her daughter through the chaos. From the fields, enslaved families watch the great house burn, faces lit by the inferno. Some whisper prayers, some weep, some smile through tears. The fire roars louder, drowning everything else. They planned for vengeance. They did not plan for chaos. Fire is no man's servant. Jonas throws his arms wide, laughing as flames consume the house. Jonas. Blood for blood, let it burn. Abel grabs him furious. Abel. "You'll bring it down on all of us," but Jonas only roars back. "Jonas, then let it take me." A beam collapses, striking Jonas. He disappears into the fire, laughter turning to silence. Samuel stumbles from the doorway, face blackened with soot, chain link glowing hot against his chest. Abel pulls him clear as the roof caves in. Behind them, the great house collapses in on itself, a roaring grave. 12 white families trapped inside, their screams swallowed by the firestorm. The sky glows red. Ash falls like snow. Eliza, clutching. "Mary," whispers to Samuel. "Eliza, we did it." Samuel, voice hoarse. "Samuel, no, we just began." The hawk circles once more above the flames, then disappears into the smoke. History would call it a tragedy. The newspapers would call it a massacre. But to those who lit the fire, it was freedom bought in blood and flame. Dawn breaks gray over Oak Hill. The mansion is nothing but a blackened skeleton, beams jutting like broken teeth. Smoke curls from the ruins. The air reeks of charred wood, scorched flesh, and ash that clings to every breath. Crows circle the fields. The land is silent except for the muffled sobs of survivors. Samuel, Eliza, Abel, Sarah, and Isaac huddle near the cabins. Mary sleeps against Eliza's chest, her face streaked with soot. Their eyes are hollow, exhausted, but alive. Abel's arms are burned raw, his hammer hand wrapped in rags. Sarah leans close, whispering, "Sarah, we should run. Now. Before they come." Samuel shakes his head. "Samuel, they'll hunt us. Dogs, riders, guns. We can't outrun the county." Isaac speaks softly, his voice trembling. "Isaac, then what do we do?" Samuel, "We stand." By mid-morning, riders arrive. Dozens of them, slave patrols and militia, faces grim, rifles gleaming in the light. At their front rides Judge Harrow's brother, Colonel Matthew Harrow, dressed in gray, a saber at his side. His jaw clenches tight when he sees the ruins. Colonel Harrow, "My brother, gone, burned alive by his own cattle." He points his saber toward the cabins. Colonel Harrow, "Round them up, every last one." Soldiers storm the cabins, dragging men, women, children into the yard. Eliza shields Mary, but a rifle butt strikes her shoulder. Abel roars in protest, only to be beaten down. Rebecca Calhoun appears among the riders, her face pale, her hands clutching a small trunk. She does not look at the enslaved. She stares only at the ruins. One soldier mutters bitterly, "Soldier, she should have burned with him." Rebecca whispers almost to herself, "Rebecca, the fire was already here." By noon, the Carter family and their allies are chained and marched to the courthouse. Crowds gather, spitting, shouting, calling for blood. In the courtroom, Samuel stands chained, scarred cheek raised proudly. Judge Harrow's chair is empty. In its place sits another magistrate, his expression like stone. The prosecutor slams his hand on the desk. "Prosecutor, they murdered 12 families. Poisoned, burned, butchered. Do you deny it?" Samuel speaks calmly, voice echoing in the hall. "Samuel, we took back what was ours, for every whip, for every chain, for every scream buried under these fields." Gasps ripple through the court. The prosecutor snarls, "Prosecutor, you admit it then?" Samuel, "I admit I was born in chains, and I'll die without them." Abel growls from the dock. "Abel, you call it murder? I call it justice." Sarah raises her voice, trembling but fierce. "Sarah, we gave them what they gave us, nothing more." The magistrate slams his gavel. "Magistrate, enough. The law speaks. You are guilty, and you will hang." Cheers erupt from the crowd. The executions are swift, public. On a wooden scaffold outside the courthouse, Samuel, Abel, and Jonas's charred body, recovered from the ruins, are displayed as warnings. Sarah is dragged to a separate noose, her herbs scattered into the mud at her feet. Eliza clutches Mary in the crowd, her face streaked with tears but her spine unbroken. Samuel meets her eyes across the square. His final words are not shouted. but sung, the same lullaby Mary once sang in their cabin. His deep voice carries, trembling yet steady. Samuel, sleep, child. Dream free. The rope snaps. His body falls. The crowd erupts, half in triumph, half in unease. The song lingers in the air even after his breath is gone. Mary clings to Eliza, whispering, "Mary, Mama, don't stop singing." Eliza hums, though her voice is cracked with grief. In the weeks that follow, Oak Hill is abandoned. The charred ruins stand as a warning. Patrols ride harder, laws tighten, sermons thunder against rebellion. But in the cabins of the enslaved across Virginia, whispers spread. A field hand in another county murmurs over the cotton rows. Field hand. "Did you hear of Oak Hill? They burned it. 12 families gone." Another replies, "Field hand. They were caught. They hanged 'em all." A pause. Then softly, with a spark in his eyes, "Field hand. Still, they lit the fire." Rebecca Calhoun disappears from public view. Some say she fled north with her journals. Others claim she wandered, mad, muttering of fire and chains. Her writings are never found, only fragments rumored to survive in hidden hands. Elias Ward, the nervous young overseer, is seen no more at Oak Hill. Some whisper he drowned in guilt. Others whisper he joined patrols, hunting those who still plotted. His name fades like smoke. Nora Bell is remembered differently. Some claim she died in the fire. Others swear she escaped into the woods and was seen years later, free, her hair streaked silver, her eyes still burning. Narration drifts over the ashes of Oak Hill. They struck a match and the fire spread farther than they knew. In smoke, in song, in whispers carried down generations. The mansion fell, the masters died, but the story lived. The camera lingers on the ruins, collapsed beams, blackened bricks, vines creeping over the stones. Chains lie rusted in the dirt, untouched, waiting. The lullaby hums faintly once more, as though the land itself remembers. Years passed, and the ruins of Oak Hill became a scar in the landscape. The stone chimneys stood like crooked gravestones. Children dared each other to run past at night, swearing they heard screams in the wind. Some said the ground there never cooled, that even in winter, the soil stayed warm as if fire still breathed beneath. In Richmond taverns, old men whispered of the night 12 families burned. A drunk leaned across a table, slurring, "Drunkard." They say Samuel Carter sang while the rope broke his neck. Sang like he was walking into heaven. Another man spat into his mug. "Farmer. He wasn't no saint, he was a killer. Poison in their cups, fire in their throats." A third voice, quiet but sharp, cut through. "Traveler. Or maybe he was a soldier. Maybe he lit the first torch of freedom." The table fell silent, each man glancing around, wary of who might be listening. Among the enslaved, Oak Hill was spoken of in softer tones. Grandmothers whispered to children by the hearth. "Grandmother, hush now and remember the fire sings for us. One day chains break again." The children's eyes widened. One little boy whispered back, "Child, did Samuel really come back in the flames?" The grandmother smiled sadly. "Grandmother, some say he never left." Rebecca Calhoun's journals became legend. Years later, fragments surfaced. Single pages, ink smeared with smoke, edges blackened. They spoke of chains and fire, of whispers in the dark. Abolitionists in the North held them up as proof of cruelty. Southerners dismissed them as fabrications. Yet the myth of Rebecca, the witness who lived, grew until she was remembered not as a survivor, but as a ghost, wandering the ruins with her trunk of papers clutched tight. Preachers thundered in pulpits about the devil's work at Oak Hill. They warned that rebellion burned not only houses but souls. Yet in secret, other preachers, those who carried coded sermons, used the fire as a parable. Hidden preacher's voice. Moses led his people through blood and flame. The fire of Oak Hill is the fire of Exodus. The congregation hummed the lullaby weaving into their hymns. Decades later, after war and emancipation, veterans of both sides told their own versions. Union soldiers claimed the fire foreshadowed freedom. Confederate veterans swore it was divine punishment for disobedience. Neither side agreed, yet both kept the memory alive. And among freed families, the story lived strongest. Around campfires, under starlight, parents whispered it to their children. "Father, don't you forget, your people lit a fire they could not contain. And though they fell, the blaze carried on. It carried to Appomattox. It carried to freedom." The children leaned in, eyes bright, the crackle of the fire echoing the crackle of that night long ago. Legends are never precise. They bend, they twist, they burn brighter than truth. Oak Hill became more than a place. It became a story whispered in the dark, a warning to the powerful, a promise to the oppressed. The mansion burned. The masters fell. But the fire still burns. The ruins of Oak Hill are gone now. Time has swallowed the ash, the chimneys, even the scorched earth. But memory is not so easily buried. What does it mean, this fire? Was it vengeance? Was it justice? Was it simply desperation? A match struck in the dark with no thought of tomorrow? Samuel Carter did not beg. Abel did not bend. Sarah whispered poison into wine because silence had long been poison enough. Eliza held her child and sang because song was the only shield left. They were not heroes in the way history likes to tell it. They were broken people, scarred people, people who carried chains in their flesh and fire in their bones. And yet, what they did cannot be unmade. One could call it massacre. One could call it rebellion. Perhaps both are true, but beneath every word lies the same truth. Power does not fall without a fight, and freedom is never given, it is seized. The lullaby that rose on the gallows still echoes. The fire that consumed Oak Hill still glows in stories. And the question it leaves us with is sharper than any blade, heavier than any chain. What would you do if all you had left was fire? The story of Oak Hill does not rest in the ashes. It lingers in the soil, in the wind that rattles through the old oaks, in the whispers of those who dared to strike against impossible odds. The fire they lit was not just for themselves. It was for every voice still trapped in silence, every hand still bound, every dream still chained. And now the question turns to you. If you were in their place, if the world gave you only chains, only scars, only silence, would you wait for mercy? Or would you set the night on fire? The silence is yours to break. This has been the slave resistance. We tell the stories history tried to bury. Stories of rebellion, of fire, of blood, of freedom. If this story burned something inside you, share it. Pass it on. Let the fire spread. Subscribe. Like. Join the resistance of memory. Because these stories are not just the past. They are warnings. They are promises. They are the echoes of chains breaking. And here, on the slave resistance, we will make sure those echoes are never silenced.